I want to read something, and before I do, I'm going to quote where it's coming from. It's called Knowing the Narcissist, Narcissist, or Narcissist.com, Narcssite.com, because I don't want to quote it as though it was something I made up or whatever, but it shows the picture of a man and woman possibly engaged in lovemaking. They're holding hands the way that a man will hold a woman's hand, and kind of like, in that moment. And that's all you see is just the picture of the hands and the woman's hair on the bed. It says, "Hush. I don't want you to make any sound, none at all. If you do, you will spoil this moment. This is not a time for noise of any kind. Yes, I admit I normally like you to make some noise, whether it is your words of admiration, your scream of terror, your murmurs of delight, your shouted anger or moans of passion. All the noises which you make for me are welcomed, as long as you coat them with your feelings. I do not care for bare comment, neutral. This does nothing for me, and may even harm me, but you won't do that for me, will you? You don't want to hurt me ever, do you? You are just not like that. You are not like that. You care and you love me and you give. No, stay silent. You have no need to speak. Just lie there. Be still. I won't allow my eyes to roam over your naked form. I want to allow my eyes to roam over your naked form as you lie there next to me, exposed and vulnerable. I know you're looking at my eyes. I can sense it. My gaze is not meeting yours at the moment, though, as I am allowing my eyes to slowly move across you. You rarely apply. Let's see. Wait a minute. I'll skip ahead. I know you can see me looking at you. I know you are wondering whether I am going to cover you with my mouth. I can tell that you are apprehensive. That tiny shudder you gave was not from the cool air that permeates this twilight space. No, that was the apprehension which has taken a hold of you. I know you are stood at a fork in your mind. I know what you're thinking. I know because I made you think this way. I do it for control. I control everything about you. Now, before I continue reading on, has the right to know what to expect and to know what has happened to them. There were times after the two of us, my ex and I, had been together for a while. And like I said in the beginning, lovemaking sex was passionate. It was desirable. It was enjoyable. It was anticipated and looked forward to, just like with any other new, exciting relationship. But after a while, and in my case, it was very quickly, because we weren't together long enough for it to have been years into it. But after a short period of time, he would do this to me while we were having sex. If I began to show or moan or grasp his body and clutch him, or to make sounds like you make when you are getting into the moment and enjoying yourself and enjoying each other, he would stop me. And not only would he stop me and say, wait a minute, stop. Because he would say, not so fast now, not so fast now. Let's enjoy each other. Let's enjoy this. But he wasn't just that. Had it been just that, I would have said, okay, he just doesn't want us to rush through this. But he would take his finger like you would do a little child. Did anybody ever watch Seinfeld when Babu, is that his name, would put his finger up and go, "Bad Jerry"? But he would wag his finger back and forth like you might do a little child and say, no, no, no. And he would say it just like that. No, no, no. Like he was talking to a child. Like he was saying to me, you're doing something wrong now. You're not going to do that. Don't do that. And then he would say, there's no need to rush. We have time. Just enjoy each other. And I was, okay, we'd get back into it, and then the same thing would happen. And as soon as I began to enjoy it again and let myself begin to release my emotions about it, he would do the same thing. And after a while, it got to the point that I did not want to make a sound. I didn't know whether I should. If I didn't, I thought I wasn't letting him know that I was enjoying it, but if I did, then he would stop me and I couldn't enjoy it. So it got to the point that I didn't even want to do it. It really got to the point, and I mean, we're talking about a short relationship. We'd only been together a couple of months at this point. This should have been the moments of desire and passion and not being able to take our hands off of each other. And it got to the point that I dreaded when the time came, you know. And it just got to the point that I, afterwards, and I use this term, and I don't mean to embarrass anybody or to use terms that might like sound, I don't know, but we're adults here, right? But, you know, there's a term that people would say about a man who is maybe horny, and they would say he has blue balls. Well, that's exactly how I felt. Like when a man is like, when he's gotten to the point that he's about ready to get there and then he has to stop, you know, and that was the way that I was. I would be into it, and then he would stop me and I'd be like, what? You know, and then I'd be afraid to even try to complete the act. So it just got to the point that I didn't even try anymore. And I thought to myself, why am I even bothering? You know? Why am I even bothering? And it makes you feel like you're not pleasing to them. It makes you feel like you're not able to fulfill their needs or your own. And to not get too graphic here, but you know, it got to the point that I would just wait for him to leave, and then I would take care of things myself, you know, because he'd already launched the he'd already launched the liftoff, so to speak. But let me complete a little bit more of this read of this story. I know that you want to speak. You cannot help yourself. You have no idea which it will be, explosive pleasure or down the dark road towards hurt and pain. I am capable of both. You should feel both excited and nervous. Ask the question. Challenge. You want the answer, but you are not getting that answer. I make a gentle shushing sound. It is a noise of reassurance, that which the doting mother gives the new offspring, treating you like a child. How I revel in your confusion. See, that's just exactly what I was describing earlier. They treat you like a child. They treat you like a child that's gotten into some type of trouble or something, but not so badly that they don't know if they're going to get scolded or if the parent's just going to let it go that time, you know. I know you are looking at my face, desperately looking for some kind of clue, some acknowledgement of what is going on in my mind, but you're denied. My face is frozen. My mouth is set straight. My brow is neither raised or furrowed. You cannot see yourself in them anymore. I have stopped giving you that. Whether it is joy, hope, love, passion, excitement, intrigue, usually what I would show you in my eyes, you're no longer seeing, because you do not look upon me. You look upon yourself. Now all you see in my eyes are two impenetrable black orbs. That is so true. I cannot even begin to tell you. And I'm not saying this because it's Halloween and this is the theme. And I know I've talked about this before, and you can go look this up on YouTube or Google or any other website that you choose. There comes a time in your relationship with a narcissist, whether it's a love relationship or a friendship or whatever, there comes a time when they stop even trying to play and wear the mask. And you do see two black orbs in their eyes. You don't look into their eyes and see. And this guy, he had the bluest, almost blue-green eyes. Like aqua blue, just beautiful eyes. I mean, that's the only way I can describe his eyes. But at the point that it got to this point, where he was beginning this control and this gaslighting, his eyes got darker. And I know people are like, a person's eyes don't really change colors. They probably didn't, but it was just that I was no longer seeing the beauty in him, and I was no longer seeing the person that I had fallen for. I was seeing the true person now. And there were times when I would look at him and look at his face, and all I would see is just this blank, like, you're sitting there, you're looking at somebody after a few minutes of, like, this stare-off contest you have with somebody. It is now that it will happen, or will I wait? You lift your left thigh in anticipation, and I continue to allow my fingers to move northwards. I hear your intake of breath and know that you, again, are making it as to speak. My hand leaves your thigh, and I place one finger against your lips. The gesture clear and unmistakable. The moment where you might have broken, the silence passes, and I wait. I wait a while longer, and I move my finger away. Your body beside me is ramrod straight as you are unable to relax, every nerve ending alert, bracing itself for whatever comes next, whatever that might be. See, that's exactly what I was describing. That is exactly what a narcissist will do to you. They get you into this passionate emotion you think, just with any other lover that you've ever had, that you're getting ready to enjoy this mutual lovemaking and pleasure of each other's body, and then they stop right at the moment where you think, and they don't stop because they don't want you to rush, as he would tell me. They stop because it's control. And that's actually the name of this article that I'm reading to you all, is control. And it's just, I mean, I don't know why they do it. It's a form of, and you'll hear so many people talk about narcissists as sex addicts. And some of them are. My ex was not. I never really thought of him as a sex addict. But later, when he came back around hoovering me, he talked a lot about sexting and nude photos. He would send me photos of himself and asked me to comply, to return the favor. But he never did anything like that in the beginning when we were talking and starting to get to know each other. He didn't behave that way. He wasn't a sexually aggressive, pushy person. But he didn't have to be, because I was so into him and we were so, it was a mutual feeling, with each other. But, like I said, once we started getting into this relationship, is when he started to control this. What man can get in a woman and get into the bed with a woman or wherever, and you're getting into it and you're starting to enjoy each other and you're actually in the act, and just stop? And not because the phone rings or somebody knocks on the door or something like that, but because they want to control you. They're willing to give up their physical pleasure or whatever to control yours. And it is so psychological. It's a form of sexual abuse, but it's really more of a psychological abuse. Because you're like, am I doing something that he's not enjoying? Am I doing something wrong? And then you will even ask them that, am I not pleasing to you? You know, let me see. Let me go back just a second. You are obedient now, remaining silent. My repeated soft and low for you to remain silent have been heeded. Now you are trying to speak to me using your eyes, and you are doing so magnificently. The lack of noise, the absence of speech now makes your emotion in your eyes 100 times more intense. I absorb those feelings that flood from your eyes. I drink them in, consuming them for my own benefit. This is why it works so well. Complete control of you as you lie there, still unmoving on the bed. A slight and occasional tremble from your body as you wait in confliction, anticipating what may come. What will it be this time? There can be no spoken protest. There can be no spoken confirmations. Only this continuing silence. My eyes remain locked on yours as my left hand once again begins to glide about your body. The slightest touch, which glides from your throat, breast, stomach, and downward, move back and forth, like some wizard commencing his spell. My spell is already working as you remain frozen, barely daring to move, only allowing your chest to rise with your breathing and your eyes still seeking answers. Hush, my darling, hush now. My hand rises and clamps over your mouth. Your eyes widen with fear and excitement, fighting against each other, all the while giving me what I need. Now, here is where the narcissist has gotten you to relinquish your control. You've given your control of yourself over to them, both physically by not moving and not making any sound, and emotionally and psychologically by laying there wondering, are they going to allow me to enjoy the pleasure that they've already started in me, or are they going to stop me when I begin to display the pleasure that I'm enjoying? And if I do, are they going to stop it again? And they almost always will. It's like they don't. And I said this one time. When we met and we talked and stuff, he never called me honey or any of those kinds of, like, love or nothing. You know, no kind of, like, terms, or, like, cutesy names. But toward the end, he started calling me doll. And I hate that damn thing. I mean, even before he would call me that, I hated it, you know. But he would start calling me doll, and I was like, I hate that. I don't want to be called doll. But as time went on, and I started to figure all this stuff out, and I started figuring out the narcissism, and I started thinking back on these moments, I realized the reason he called me doll is because that's how he saw all women. They were not a lover. They were not a partner to him. They were just a vessel. They were just a blob of skin and flesh and whatever. Because I don't know if all narcissists are like this, but there are these types. And let me tell you something. It does so much psychological damage to you. It got to the point that, not like I said before, it got to the point that I didn't even desire making love to him anymore because I didn't want to go through this again. I didn't want to lay there wondering if I speak or move or breathe the wrong way, is he going to just stop? And it's hard to control your body physically once you're in the process of that physical, orgasm and that emotional, that height. It's hard to just lay there like, a zombie, not even a zombie, like a wooden stick or a blow-up doll. And that's where he was getting that from. I know now. At the time, I was just like, what's going on here? Just like this story described. I can't believe I came across this article today. It explains so much. And I didn't even know that other people went through this when it was happening to me. I didn't realize that he was a narcissist, but once I did, and I started talking about narcissism on YouTube, that was when other people started commenting. And I was reading their comments, and they were describing the exact same thing that happened to me. Just like this story, that's exactly the way it would happen. We would be in each other's arms and kissing and touching and doing all the stuff that you do. And then the moment that we began the actual act is when he would stop. And he would tell me, no, no, no. And it wasn't just, we've got all evening, we've got all night, we don't have to rush, because why did he care? Why did he care if I rushed and then did it 2 more times or 5 more times? He didn't want me to do it at all. He wanted to control whether I did or not. Or whether he let me, rather. And man, I'm telling you what, when I started hearing these stories from other people, my mind just went, what? Are there others like him out there in the world? I couldn't believe it. And it's a form of control. They control. And I think about the women that actually end up marrying these guys. And it's not just men. Women are the same. There are women narcissists too. But most narcissists are men. That's just the statistics. My little lispy stutter I'll get out here in a second. If you go look it up and read about it and learn about it in these medical journals and scientific journals and people who have studied it and who have done books on it and written articles and stories about it, they almost all say that most narcissists are men. It maybe have something to do with the mother-son relationship. I don't know. It's not Freudian, I don't think, anything like that. I don't know, really. But I wanted to share that article today to get off the subject that I've been on for so long on Facebook. It's something completely different. And if you're going through this with a partner, sorry, someone typed something to me. I was answering them. If you're going through this with a partner, I don't care if it's a same-sex relationship or a husband-wife, a boyfriend-girlfriend, whatever the case is. If you're experiencing this and you're hearing me talk about this, if you're reading these types of articles and other people are telling, or you're hearing other people say this, you're in the relationship with a narcissist. You maybe just don't know it, because nobody really understands it when it's happening to them. But one thing, a little bit, and this article doesn't describe this really. I mean, it kind of does if you listen to some of the words. Let me go back and see if I can find it. Sorry. Let me see. Is it a surge of passionate flush or something else? Okay. Is it the glow of shame that will coat your cheek? or is it the surge of passionate flush? So here is what that means. Is it the glow of shame or the surge of passionate flush? Now, what that says is, will they allow you to enjoy the passion that will flush your cheeks once they allow you to complete the passionate act? Or will they stop you again and tell you no, and that will bring shame to your face? And your body is ramrod straight, bracing itself for whatever comes next, whatever that might be. You don't know as you're laying there with them if they are going to pull this stunt again and stop you, or if they are going to allow you to continue. And it's a form of control and fear, because you're afraid if they tell you no, and they tell you to stop, and they tell you to lay there, and they're doing that, and if you don't go along with them, they're going to just get mad and blow up. And I have heard stories, I've read stories of people becoming a little bit too physically aggressive. And I didn't even realize it at the time that he did that to me several times. And I've talked, and this is kind of a touchy subject. This is going to be a graphic moment here. I don't judge anybody on the type of sex that they like or they dislike. And I'm not going to say whether I take part in certain things or I don't. But he got to a point toward the end, toward the very last time that we were together, the last few times we were together with each other, that he was focusing, hyper-focusing on that I was willing to take part in or not, but with him I was not. Because at that point, it had gotten to the point that I was starting to get a little bit more fearful of him. Not because he was controlling me psychologically and emotionally in that way, and also physically, but because he had become so aggressive toward me, talked to me more aggressively, talked to me more controlling, had actually caused a couple of injuries to me while we were together that I didn't think of at the time. I kind of just thought it was kind of rough, and afterwards you might have a bruise or you might have a little cut or something, and you think, well, it got a little bit rough. But now that I know better and I know what he was doing, I realize that he was doing it deliberately to cause injury to me. Not that it was so serious that I felt like I had been attacked, or, that at the moment I didn't feel that way. Looking back on it now, I think, well, now I see it was a little bit more than just rough sex. I wouldn't take part in that with him because I knew that his intentions, and I'd finally started getting to the point that I was seeing through him a little bit more now. And I wouldn't do it because I was scared, actually, physically afraid of him injuring me deliberately and purposefully. And I believe that was the only reason that he wanted to do that, was because he wanted to injure me and use that as the excuse that, oh, it just got a little bit too rough, honey, But I'm glad that I didn't allow that. I'm glad I stood up for myself for that. But you know what? To be honest, there came a time when he was wanting me to come to his home and be with him, that I wouldn't go back. I wouldn't, because I was honestly afraid that he would force it on me. And that was when things, what was I going to do? So I finally just said goodbye, and I've not seen or spoken to him. But sometimes I know we're not supposed to worry about their lives now that they're out of our life. And I didn't mean for this video to go this long. Once I started talking about this, it went beyond what I had anticipated. I was just going to read the article, but then I started talking about my own story, and it reminded me of some things. And the reason I talk about this is not to like shock value or anything, but to give people the idea that if this has happened to you, to kind of let them see what type of person they're with. Are they doing this? Are they controlling you in this way? You know? And I'm not saying that everybody who takes part in certain things are trying to control you, but, you know,